Hello everyone, welcome to the Desolation Sounds Podcast. My name is Stephen Hook and this is a podcast celebrating everything to do within the world of alternative music, be that rock, punk, metal, or extreme metal. You can tell it's been a while since I've done this. It's been 3 weeks. How are we all doing? It's been a while since we sat together and talked about music like this. I say we, it's me and you. It's you, dear listener, and just me. Singular listener, listen to this, it's just me and you. And you'll be pleased to know that we have a fair old bit coming up this week. So we won't do news because trying to catch up on 3 weeks worth of news will be just the worst fucking time and horrifically outdated. But we'll be going through festival announcements, there we go. For Download, Slam Dunk and Bloodstock. Lots of opinions. And we have fucking loads of album reviews to catch up on. So we've got Dinosaur Pile-Up, Aphyxion, Virginity, Paladin, Goldblum, and we're going to top everything off with Hawkeyes. If you've been listening past couple of weeks, well, not past couple of weeks, a month ago, you'll know I'm very, very excited about Hawkeyes. But, like I said, we're going to go through some festival announcements. We are getting to the early stages of all those festivals and such being announced. We'll start with Download festivals. So they have announced that the headliners for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that is the 12th to the 14th of June 2020, is going to be Kiss, Iron Maiden, and System of a Down. And elsewhere in the bill, you're going to have Deftones, Korn, Offspring, Gojira, Disturbed, Ailstorm, Black Veil Bride, Daltrey, and Of Mice and Men. I'll start from the bottom, work my way up. Of Mice and Men, I think it's a pretty good billing for them. Being main stage Download, I actually think the way Download, it's just kind of like modern metal sort of thing. Of Mice and Men have becoming quite Marmite. That album, I can never remember the name of. Restoring Force was brilliant. Cold World wasn't very good. That one last year was appalling. Whatever it was, and the new one coming out, Earth and Sky. So far, the singles of it have been hit and miss, but I feel like Of Mice and Men at a festival like this, I think will do quite well. And I think they've been doing second stage before, so I think this is quite good billing for them. I'm quite chuffed for that. I'm quite chuffed for the boys. Daltrey, on the other hand, what the fuck are they doing at Download? Let alone I'm assuming this is all main stage, but beside everything, what the fuck are they doing at Download? I remember when they were the ultimate romanticized rock band in the late 2000s. I thought they split up. I just don't expect them to ever be reviewed here because I have no interest in listening to them. I have no idea what they're doing on main stage at Download. It's daft and I don't like it. Black Veil Brides, again, a couple of albums ago, I would have thought this had been a bit lacking for them because I thought that the way Black Veil Bride's trajectory was going, I thought they would be a second or third headliner. Whereas now they're in they don't even have their own logo, which is hilarious because if you go onto their Facebook page and they've put on the fact that, oh look, we're playing Download, look at all these people, and they've erased Ailstorm, Daltrey, and Of Mice and Men and put their logo in. So they've just wiped off those three other bands just so they get their logo on the card or on the poster. It's a bit sad. But nowadays, I think the hype of Black Veil Brides has dwindled a lot. But I still think they should be on main stage. They have that cult that grew up with them, and now I think they are a kind of band that they can be an entry-level metal band for a lot of people. So I think I'm not interested that much anymore. I really liked Set the World on Fire. I think that's what the album's called. I thought that was a brilliant album. Everything else has been... You could just about get an album out of the rest of them, but... I don't know. I think Black Veil Brides is a good shout. Ailstorm can get in the bin, quite frankly. The music is very mediocre. It's a gimmick. And apparently I think it's a lead singer. The guy who's also in Glory Hammer. Apparently he's a bit of a twat. You should probably separate personal opinions from the music, but I don't want to. For Ailstorm, they can, it's a nah from me. Disturbed, I think they should be there. I don't think I care though, because, I've had my Disturbed phase. Gojira, it's taken me this long to realise Gojira and Korn have very similar type fonts in the logo. That's unsettling. I think this is great for Gojira. I think they should be headlining at least somewhere. Did they do Bloodstock a couple of years ago? Am I making that up? I'll quietly try and do a Google. Bloodstock. I feel like they must have done. Or is this going to take me too long to figure it out? Might take me too long to figure it out. Where's the Wikipedia page when you need one? That's loading. Gojira, yeah, I think they should absolutely be there. Like I said, I want them to be headlining, but you never know. Sabaton Parkway. They did. They were headlining Bloodstock last year. Good. I think they're big enough that it's just that thing. Download's not the right crowd, is it? Because Download is very much my first metal festival, or like more contemporary metal festival, and then you sort of like split off and you realise what you like. So Bloodstock, Damnation, Reading, if you want to be a loser. Offspring, what the fuck are Offspring doing main stage at Download in 2020? Well, even like now, 2019, are they about to release the fiercest punk rock record we've ever done diddly seen? Because that's the only reason. Yeah, they are like one of the core bands from the break in punk rock from the 90s into the 2000s. Fair fucks, but why? Haven't they've headlined actually before, years ago. Madness. Korn, I'm very happy to see Korn up there. I'm a big fan of Korn. I like the fact they're up there. I think they could have done with being a headliner, to be honest. I don't know if they've headlined before. I don't think they have. It's not one I recognise, but yeah, I feel like they should be up there. Deftones, intrigued because I think they are working. Yeah, they are working on new music at the moment. Hopefully that means they release it either in time or around this sort of period, and just like ride the waves of that. I think that would be a great show. Deftones. A band I've always respected but never really gone in that much. They've been through a lot as a band and as people, and belong in those group of the category of bands where they've never released a bad album, just slightly lesser ones, and that's about it. So I reckon they are a good shout for Download. So of my and Gojira, I would probably go see Offspring. I just don't understand why they're there. So of my and Gojira, Offspring, Korn, Deftones, I think I'd all quite like to see. Headliners though, on the Friday you've got Kiss. Apparently it's going to be the last I think it might even be that last UK show unofficially, which I don't believe, because I think the only band who's gone on more farewell tours than Kiss is Rolling Stones. All three of these are very, very safe. Iron Maiden must have headlined damn near every single Download or every single Monsters of Rock. All to have Bruce say, "Scream for Donington!" and then everyone pops their tits and moves along. I just don't care. System of a Down, it's mad. Okay, I read a thing the other day about all the bands just touring don't owe anyone a new album, and there's an argument for and an argument against that. But why are we having effectively a karaoke band headline one of the biggest music festivals, I'd say, in the world now? Download is fucking huge. Like Maiden, okay, they are one of the biggest metal bands of all time. Fair fucks. Although they've been done it 100 times. Yeah. System, Kiss as well, going for a long time, big cult following of all ages. I get it, I don't like it. System of a Down haven't released anything long. The space between the Tool albums, where everyone keeps flapping their gums and going absolutely apeshit for, is shorter than the length of time we've waited for a System of a Down album. And yet they've just announced a bunch of shows, and now they're headlining Download. I genuinely don't think we're ever going to have a new System record. I think if we're lucky, we might get one with Darren, John, and Chavo, but I don't think Serge will ever record music with those guys again. And why have effectively a karaoke jukebox headline your festival? Apparently, when they headlined it a few years ago, it was fucking awful. But then, admittedly, in the show since, they've been told like it's been come out that they've done very, very well, and they sound like they were more into it. But I don't know, man. It's just it feels very safe, and I liked the. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but for a few years, excuse me, they kind of had it where one headliner and that the main stage that day was like the classic rock, more easygoing kind of stuff. I think the year Def Leppard headlined, you had things like Slash or Miles Kennedy, Blackstone Cherry, and bands of that it were like easygoing rock music was one day. Then you had a bit more of a heavier day, and then you had the classic day. And that formula I think worked really good because you got something old and easygoing, something heavy for the like cultists, and something for the nostalgists. Replace that, like bounce between the nostalgist act and something new. Give it a new headliner at least every 2 years, so you can build those names. Like Damnation, the death metal festival in Leeds, said it's like we're so happy to have Venom Prison because it's so hard having new UK headliners because they've booked Napalm Death like 6 times. They love Napalm Death, but there's just no chance to have that new big band because everyone keeps going back to the old shit. Support the new shit, and then we can fucking have a new, like Gojira. Why are they not headlining Download? God, I don't like Download this year. I wasn't a fan of the one last year. It slowly got better, but the headliners were just boring. And this now, I know I've said it's called Tool boring, so people are going to come after me, but oh well. This is just so uber safe, and it makes me very upset. But that's Download. On to Slam Dunk. Slam Dunk I'll have less opinions on because it's very, very slam dunky, and yeah, I'm not the biggest Slam Dunk boy. So the headliner is, well, the first headliner I should say, because I don't know, is it multiple days? It's 2 days, yes. Yes. North, South, I don't know. Basically, headliner is Don Broco. You got State Champs, The One That Years, Mayday Parade, Motion City Soundtrack, 4 Year Strong, Knuckle Puck, Ice Nine Kills, Bayside, Issues, and Hands Like Houses. Most of them I have no opinion on. Issues, I think the new stuff sounds fucking odd and not a good odd. Hands Like Houses, I've never been a fan of. Bayside, are alright. I reckon they'd be quite fun to watch live. If you're unfamiliar, they'll punk rock with like the alt rock in there as well, so it's very, very manageable and I think quite easy listening. I'd be up for seeing Bayside. Ice Nine Kills, I think, are a bit of a dirty pleasure band because they're one of the emo metalcore bands or post-hardcore bands from a few years back. You're like, I totally grew out of that scene. Look at me with normal hair. And then every time they come on, it's like, fuck me, it's actually quite good. And Knuckle Puck, I know they were meant to be like one of the biggest new pop punk bands. And they had their album Copacetic. Was that right? Copacetic? I remember it being a weird word, and I want to make sure that I'm getting that weird word correct. And Copacetic, yeah, I think I got that right. And when the album came out, the podcast I was listening to was saying that this is going to be the saviors of pop punk. You're going to like recognize the fact that it's now punk rock with like mainstream appeal instead of like whatever garbage Blink-182 made up or like All Time Low made up. I thought that album was really fucking boring. I just thought it was so bland. So don't really give a shit about Knuckle Puck playing. 4 Year Strong, great party band. I'd like to go see them. Motion City Soundtrack I've never got into. Same with Mayday Parade. The Wonder Years I would pop my tits to go and see. I wouldn't mind if they were headline actually. State Champs, could never get into them either. Don Broco, that Technology album is still absolute fire. Action took a while to grow on me, but that's turned into a very good song as well. I like the fact, I don't think Don Broco have ever headlined much before, so I think this is a really good shout for them. Yeah, like I said, I've got not many opinions about Slam Dunk. I like the fact that Don Broco's up there. I think swap State Chance for Wonder Years, you'd have a jolly good time. But that's just personal preference. And yeah, go up to watching Bayside, up to watching 4 Year Strong. ran out of things to say. Like I said, it's looking very, very okay. It looks very slam dunk so far. So I think that appeals to the core fan base better than Download does. And the final one is Bloodstock happening. Oh, I should say Slam Dunk's happening the 23rd for Slam Dunk North in Leeds, and 24th of May down south. I don't know where Hatfield Park is, but it's in Hatfield Park. I should know geography better. Bloodstock is the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th of August 2020. It's going to happen in Walton-on-Trent in Derbyshire. How exciting. And from the top to the bottom, you've got Devon Townsend. Why the fuck? Devon Townsend for his only UK show of the year, headlining. You got Skin Dread. Why do I keep saying it with a T? Violence, Glory Hammer, Sacred Reich, Ginger, Butcher Babies, Black Dahlia Murder, and Dark Tranquility. I think that's a pretty standard, pretty fucking good lineup. I think if that's the order they're going to play, or like roughly the order how they're going to be set out on the card, I would have probably had Black Dahlia Murder a bit higher. Like maybe swap them out with Glory Hammer. So they're like on par with Violence. I think Butcher Babies, if they're more like earlier day main stage, I think that's a good setting for them, because I know they're huge in America. They've got the crotch rock following in Britain, so the same sort of people who love Hailstorm and New Year's Day. Dark Tranquility, I'm quite surprised that, like, if this is following how early they're going to play, I'm surprised that early. I know they're like, their name has dwindled off a little bit over the last few years, but I still think they're quite big in mainland Europe, aren't they? So I'd have them maybe swap out with Ginger to be on par with Sacred Reich, but oh well. Black Dahlia Murder will be fucking insane fun to watch. Ginger, I've only heard snippets about. A very new, very promising, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Maddening prog rock? I'm not quite sure. Sacred Rock, trad metal band, never really. Oh no, thrash metal, excuse me. Go to the show. Never really got into that much. Glory Hammer were fun power metal. It's daft and silly, and I enjoy it, even though it has got that twat from Hailstorm in. For some reason, Glory Hammer appeals to me a lot more than Hailstorm does. Violence, that is the... what's his name? Rob Flynn's old band, isn't it? And... I might have to do another Google. I'm sure that's the old band. Either way, I think it's... again, it says it's a UK debut and UK exclusive. Oh... okay, so... they reformed this year, and it's going to be... so it's... not only was it Rob Flynn's band, it was also Phil Demmel's band. He also formerly of Machine Head. So it looks like they got a classic lineup going again. Their new album's long? Just touring. Phil, interest to write a new album. That's good enough for me. So I think it's quite a good coup for them to come back. I think Phil Demmel raising his profile and then coming back to Violence is a good shout. Again, based on the fact it's a UK debut, maybe wouldn't have had him that high up, but that's just me. Skin Dread, I think is going to be fucking class. Skin Dread live, 99% of the time is great fun live. That one time I saw him, they were a little bit boring. I'm sorry, but he was unwell. Apparently, he was tonsillitis, I think, or something like that. So, given he had tonsillitis, it was a great show. But overall, just not quite what I was expecting for Skin Dread, who are meant to be one of the best live bands in the country. And if they're subbing Devon Townsend, that's going to be a fucking hellacious party. Devon Townsend, I am always a fan of. I think he's brilliant. He's one of those people where no matter what kind of music you listen to, he has made something to do with it, and it's going to be fucking brilliant. So, definitely think Bloodstock are doing well this year. I would love to go to Bloodstock any year, because the more I hear about it, the more it sounds infinitely better than most other festivals in the UK. But those are the three so far. It's Download, Slam Dunk, and Bloodstock. I know which one I prefer. I'm sorry, I'm just slowly dying. A little bit more than usual. Damn fresh as I came back, and I might be catching something, which is fun for me. It's not fun for me, I lied. So, again, there are your headlines. Headlines? I guess your headlines. Moving on now to... Sorry, you can tell I'm out of practice. I haven't done this in ages. I haven't really thought about this in ages. Let's move on to the album reviews then. We're going to start with an album an illustrator handed me who paints or draws pretty pictures. Like literal pretty pictures. She's just done a piece sold to an art exhibit. And yeah, either way, not the sort of person I expect this sort of album from. It is Dinosaur Pile-Up, and the album is called Celebrity Mansions. It's the fourth album, and they're from Leeds. Good, more British rock. And they're a weird mishmash out of alt rock, post-grunge, I'd even say, and a little bit, a wee sprinkling of punk rock. Dinosaur Pile-Up they're a band I keep hearing about, but I've never really got into it. And I feel like they've always been bubbling underneath the surface because, excuse me, whenever I've heard of them, it's always positive. No one's ever said, like, pretty much anything bad that I can think of. It's just always a case of people talk about them, but not, and never really pushed that much or marketed that well. It's a weird one. So you've got all these people talking about it, but then no one really doing much with them. And yeah, it's just based on this album, it's a fucking shame. And based on what I've read around Celebrity Mansions, the other albums have been fucking brilliant as well. So who knows? It's, to me, the album is kind of like a cauldron pot of Foo Fighters, The Bronx, and Pulled Apart by Horses. It is that palatable, like, dragging the 90s into the 10s, mix of like grunge mix, and that's mixed up with the like that energy and excitement of punk rock, all like plastered together with this like odd songwriting ability that somehow managed to appeal to both demographics on the side of more mainstream interests and like the alternative fanboys such as myself. And I feel like this could be, it kind of feels like a greatest hits album because every song on this is just a wall-to-wall fucking slammer. Any song of this could have been a lead single. Like you had Back Foot, Thrash Metal Cassette, and Round the Bend, which are all absolutely fucking phenomenal choices, but could have easily had K West, which is like a dafty, easygoing grunge punk cruiser. Stupid heavy metal, broken hearted loser punk. Really sad. Really glad I got that right first time. It's a fucking blast of a song that sounds like The Bronx, funded by Billy Corgan. Professional Freak is like the evil British clone to Foo Fighters. Every song on this album has an identity and has huge pulling power potential. I don't know why I wrote that. I think the album itself was quite ballsy to open with something like Thrash Metal Cassette because sonically it's one of like the harder going songs in the album. And I know when it came on, I thought it was going to be a very different kind of album. I thought it was going to be that sort of like on the line between thrash and punk, almost like a thrashcore kind of album, all the way through. Again, ended up being that little cauldron pot I was talking about a minute ago. But that hook of Hey LA, I'm Back Again, that's fucking huge. That's so good. And like it's got cheerleading cheers or cheerleading chants, whatever they're called. And following on from like the Damn Things early in the year, apparently that's cool now and apparently they're rock and roll because they seem to work really well. A lot better than Kids Choirs. Fucking Machine Head did Kids Choirs, it was not good. This though, like the cheerleading, they've got a proper term. I know they have, but I can't think what it is. It just seems to fit so well and hit so hard. And the attitude and back foot, the attitude and back foot should be noted as well. It's kind of like a weird. Is it weird to call it like a rapped kind of singing? You know, like each verse is sung with like a lot of conviction, especially the really fast bit that is a piece of my sickness, and then it just sort of like carries on because he's really, really good with words and I'm not. About 3/4 away for the song. That's just, he nails it. He fucking nails it. I would love to know how many tries it took. I'm just glad I got the other one. What was it called? Stupid Heavy Metal Broken Hearted Loser Punk. Why can I never talk like that well? I thought this album was fucking fantastic. It is a fantastic blend, an intriguing blend of 90s rock, all with this sort of like pop visor. And it's been, like with Poppy, this year alone has been really good for that sort of thing. I think it's also on par with how Weezer write their music as well, when they're good. There's always something about it which is appeal, just screams like that little bit of edge or a little bit of attitude, but it's delivered in such a way where you can get such a broad audience in to listen to it. I thought Celebrity Mansions was fucking brilliant, and I strongly advise you go and look for it as well. Again, Celebrity Mansions by Dinosaur Pile-Up. They are from Leeds, so support British music, etc., etc. It's their 4th album, it's out now. And yeah, I thought, again, it's just fucking brilliant. It's so insanely catchy. And when you can say that song title, I'm not going to do it for the 3rd time in case I fuck it up, but when you can say that really confidently and not fuck it up, oh, you feel good. You feel really good. Don't want to do that. Cool. On to Aphyxion. I really hope that's how you pronounce that. And their 3rd album, it's going to be called Void. Well, it is called Void. It's already out. Why am I saying it might be? This is album number 3 from the Reba Denmark natives, and they are known for playing melodic death metal, which is, it's Scandinavian. Of course they are. I'd never really come across Aphyxion before, but for such a young band, they've got a pretty solid backstory to them. They are the youngest band to play Wacken, and I think they did that, was that 11 or 17? I got 2 different years. I think that was 2011 they did that. So the youngest band to play Wacken open air in Germany. Metal Hammer referred to them as the saviors of melodic death metal, which is pretty tall order. I respect Metal Hammer, because that's Metal Hammer UK as well. I respect their claims a lot and their opinions. They opened for Metallica during the Denmark portion of the worldwide tour, and all of this is while not being signed to a major label. They are still signed to a fairly local Danish label called Prime Collective. There's a giant truck going by. Straight away, this album wins a vote for me because it does something which not many albums of this ilk do, and it goes right fucking into it. There's no fiddly widdly fucking intro song with like space and ambient or like a spoken word thing. It is just like Fork Tongues opens with this like just attack of snare before going into some really bouncy, really crunchy riffs, followed by an explosive chorus. And that is a sign of good melodic death metal with the big vocals, but still got a strong, shouted, like aggressive voice, and it gears the album up really well. I thought Fork Tongued was a really good open track for the album. It's when you move past that and then get into the second track, which is called Sleepwalkers, where it starts to feel a little bit more in tune with modern metalcore. There's more clean vocals, particularly on the choruses. It's a different kind of riffs. It's more, I know I called the riffs in Fork Tongued like bouncy, but this is more, like very stereotypical like chug sort of stuff, and there's little tinges of electronics here and there. And for me, that metalcore songwriting is more prominent in this album than the melodic death metal root. Yeah, they're there. Melodic death metal roots. Fuck me. There's little callbacks here and there in the riffs from Jonas Haagensen in No Man is an Island, and even in Pain as well. And they're the two, like, I guess, softer songs. They touch on the ballad. And they remind me, both the songs remind me more of Modern In Flames in the way that's a very modern metal kind of sound, but they've got those higher end melodeath riffs. I want to call them like those like pinch riffs, but I don't think that's right. But hopefully y'all know what I mean. And it hurts me to say, but the overall product, the overall album, is just it's a little bit too generic for me. I think fans of this world will just adore this. It's a cool, somewhat underground name they can get into, so the hipsters will be happy. But hopefully, the more people go into this and say this is like of this world, to go in and to say, hey, have you ever heard of this band? They're really, really good. And that will hopefully improve Aphyxion stock even more than it already is. But I don't think there's enough to bring in any more newer fan base if outside that world, if that makes sense. The production on this album is fucking unfaultable. Everything's so crisp and so precise. It sounds fantastic. The vocals are, I think they're my favourite part of the whole album, or the whole ensemble. Michael Val handles the screams, and I feel like he sits somewhere between CJ from Thy Art's Murder and Winston from Parkway. That's in terms of like range and how he can like utilise those vocals. And I believe it is the bassist Jace Jensen who does the cleans, and he's got really, really strong clean vocal. It really binds the music well. Imagine, or like cast your mind back to about mid-2000s when Bullet for My Valentine were coming out and Matt Tuck was still really, really good. And that kind of clean vocal. It's not like the dew-eyed fucking squeaky shit. It's a raw, like almost hard rock kind of vocal line. And yeah, I think those two together, Jason and Michael, they do work really well. They complement each other really, really well. I'd like to see, if they do go this, I'll talk about it a bit more in a bit, I think, but if they do go down this like metalcore route further, I think the trade-off between those two would work very well for them. And yeah, the example I've got is in Happily Apathetic. Like, again, if they want to go down this like metalcore over melodic death metal thing, Happily Apathetic should be their benchmark. For like, as much as I wasn't a fan of this album, and as much as I found it quite boring, Happily Apathetic was fucking brilliant. Modern, electronica tinged riffs and verses. Excuse me. Michael sounding his grimmest in the build up to a huge chorus. I don't know if it's still Jace on this because it sounds slightly different, slightly higher register, but whoever it is, if it is Jace, he's done a fucking great job. Whoever it is sounds like a modern Vince Neil, which is a weird one, but like it just sounds so hard rock and so 80s glam, that edgy side of glam as well. But otherwise, outside of Fork Tongued and Sleepwalkers, where they had a bit more punch to them, and Happily Apathetic, which is just a great modern metalcore song, I just did nothing. I found it very unforgettable. Sorry, very forgettable, I should say. Completely opposite. Sorry, lads. No Man is an Island and Pain. You can tell they've put a lot of like emotional stock into the songs, but I just don't think it really hits all that well. And again, in the modern metalcore world of Wage War, Woven War, who else? I can't really think of anyone else because I stay away from that quite a lot. I'd maybe even say Of Mice and Men as well. Metal, like modern metalcore bands, when they're trying to put the metal back into it all, despite having breakdowns every 10 seconds, I think it would do really well in that world. Otherwise, I thought it was quite one-dimensional and a bit bland and just not too memorable. But if you are a fan of that kind of world, for all the shit I've given it, give it a go for yourself. It's called Void, and the band is called Aphyxion. Aphyxion. Damn youths and their silly way of spelling things. They're from Denmark. Album wasn't for me, but if you like that sort of thing, give it a bash. Just fucking do it. Just fucking fuck off and fucking listen to it. Up next then, I've got weird shit in my nose. Up next, we've got Virginity and their debut album called With Time. Trying to Google this was a fucking minefield. It is their debut album. They are from Florida, various parts of Florida, and they sit quite nicely on that bridge between emo and punk rock. And the band is spearheaded by frontman and comedian Casey Crawford. And I found an interview he did with a online webzine kind of thing called The Alternative, and Casey chatted with them, and he talked about his childhood and what he considered back then to be fairly normal behaviour, and like fairly normal growing up. As he's gotten older, he's realised that no, that's not quite normal behaviour at all. In fact, it might be quite bad. And now, as a fully grown adult, he's now having to deal with those demons that he's repressed from those times. And a way he's doing it, something that's found therapeutic, is to put it into this musical world. And that therapeutic sort of sense you get from literally the first verse of the entire album. In like this slower intro track, There's Got to Be a Better Way. The verse is, there's got to be a better way of dealing with my brain, some sort of medicinal therapy to keep me out of my way. You know, that's your intro to the band. That's your intro to this album, and that's Virginity, but not that one. Again, like I said, the album sits very firmly on that line between emo and punk rock. The lyrics are clearly very, very deep and personal to Casey, and the songs do have a ton of melody to them, but that guitar tone has a healthy amount of bite to it, and Casey as a vocalist operates more, it's kind of more of a shout in his vocal, and the comparisons I got were Dylan from Spanish Love Songs and kind of Greg from Menzingers. Take that second one with a pinch of salt, because I've been listening to a lot of Menzingers recently. I finally realised why they are fucking brilliant, and it might just be me wanting to talk about Menzingers more, but hopefully you get away. It's not quite just very softly spoken or softly worded singing. He has got a bit of an edge, a bit of a long fringe haircut to him. And because it is modern day emo, there's plenty of earworm music to it. Figure It Out has a kind of chorus which you can get a lot of crowd participation live in, and musically I think it's just really well written. It's really difficult to say. The song comes at the end of a really strong 3-song rush. It starts with History Worth Repeating, goes into Your Apartment, and then goes into Figure It Out. History Worth Repeating really kicks off the album properly, the same way sequels, remakes, and adaptations does in Schmaltz by Spanish Love Songs. And Your Apartment touches a bit onto pop punk side of things, but still has a massive chorus, as well as the song still making references to Crawford's upbringing. It's still, again, quite a personal project for him, and quite a personal song as well. I think because it's a debut album, the album is kind of experimental, because I think it's more them trying to find their feet and trying to find how they really want to sound fully. As much as like History of Repeat is a bit more like big bombastic punk rock, Cliche leans on the emo a lot. It's super melodic. I'd even say it's Jimmy Eat World level of melody and just like easygoing songwriter stuff. And then right afterwards you've got Tile Floor, which sounds like the peak of 90s skater punk. And then the title track with Time it's got two halves, and it's both of those things. It starts out as this like big gangsome acoustic ballad, as if like you're around a campfire just having a jolly good time, and then it ends with this big circle pit starting rush of adrenaline. You know, overall I thought I quite like the album. I quite like this. It was a little bit different, but it blended the melody of emotion of emo with the pace and growth of punk rock really, really well. There's a lot of fun musical ideas strewn throughout the album. That post-chorus riff on Figure It Out, still having those little bits of twinkly emo on Tile Floor, when it's Tile Floor still going like double pace. And yeah, hopefully for Casey on like a personal level, it's good for him. It's given a chance to like that's the thing with emo albums. I don't know if turning problems like this into songs is legitimately therapeutic and does actually help. Hopefully it's done something for him, because I thought this was a really good fun song, a really good fun album, sorry. And if you want to give it a go, it's called With Time, and the album is called Virginity. It's trying to put Virginity with Time into Google. You get a lot of things, man. you just get a lot of things. So the Bandcamp is virginityisrad.bandcamp.com. Probably best to go there because, like I said, it was a bit of a task. We'll say bit of a task. Cool. Moving on to another pleasure of mine. Not Virginity, I meant emo. We're going to move on to power metal, in theory. The album is called Ascension, and the band are called Paladin. This is their debut album from a very anticipated, or very like, they're again, debut album. A lot of people are going nuts for this album, is what I'm trying to say. It's got 85% already on the Metal Archives. And they're from Atlanta, Georgia. They play power metal, and hopefully by now tis known that I like me a good power metal album. I am a sucker, an absolute bitch fuck sucker for Dragon Force, Halloween, Manowar. I fucking adore Rhapsody of Fire and the whole family of bands that's now produced. And I get super keen when there's a new power metal act I can really sink my teeth into. It's been a while since something new of this world has popped up. And I try to think back to when the latest new band was, and it would have been... Was it Dystrophy? They had one song that I liked called Closer, because they used to be Children Bottom cover band. And just leaned really hard into power metal stuff. And then looking back, it's it's very, very okay. And the other alternative was Blessed by a Broken Heart, which were fucking abysmal. And maybe Black Veil Brides, but I refuse to believe it. So, yeah, very intrigued to find a new power metal band. And this Paladin album has been on my list to listen to since June, and it came out in May. Awakening opens the album, and is everything you'd expect. And there's everything I expected. It's big falsetto vocals on the back of some double speed riffs and some like a barrage of drums. I like the fact that the bass was quite high in the mix. I'm always a bit of a sucker for hearing a cool bass tone. And overall the sound was a little bit higher than I was expecting. I know I've said like Awakening was everything to be expected, but I think for people who are aficionados with power metal, you know, the American is more speed metal based and tends to be a bit deeper tonally. It just like Manowar, the ultimate example, is very fast paced, very gruff, manly men power metal, whereas European tends to sit a little bit higher, and Halloween is my go-to for that. And for a band based out of Georgia, it sounds a little bit more European than what I was expecting. So that was just my thought on that. So that was Awakening, and then Divine Providence cuts in, and after Awakening showed me everything I was expecting to hear from this album, Divine Providence cuts in, and I've realised that Paladin like to dabble in other areas, and they like to blend the core power metal shenanigans with thrash metal and even a little bit of melodic death metal. And with that, Divine Providence sounds quite Children of Bodomy. And there's a few songs that do as well. So you got Bury the Light, Genesis, and Carpe Diem. And it actually isn't all that well done. And if I'm being honest, the whole album is a bit pants. You know, there's literally a few coupled good songs. I enjoyed Carpe Diem. I thought Black Ohm was good. Shoot for the Sun is probably my favourite song. Very, very like trad metal in it. But for me, oh my god, I found this album so bland. And from the looks of it, I'm the only one with this opinion. Everyone else is scoring it very highly. But oh my god, the mix is so boring. It all sounds on the same level the entire time. It just... Songs lack character, and you fucking can't have a power metal record with songs that lack character. You're meant to be fucking ridiculous. That's what power metal is. You know, like the forefathers of power metal wore loincloths, for fuck's sake. It's just so boring. I'm really gutted because, again, everyone loves this album, so I was hoping I can say, hey, power metal, listen. But there's nothing new. Awakening sounds like an early Halloween B-side with slightly better production. And I'm gutted. I am absolutely heartstrong that I don't like this, and I find it really, really repetitive and boring. Again, all the other reviews I've seen for this go absolutely bananas over this. And then there's me, a dark, little emo hipster boy who thinks one of his favorite styles of music is just boring. I'm gonna do exactly what I keep telling everyone else to not do, and I'm gonna go back to the classics and listen to Manowar, Rhapsody, old Dragon Force, and older Halloween. And I'm upset by that. I'm very upset. I'm a hypocrite. I look like a fool. I look like a bitch fool. And I'm very, very unhappy about it all. If I always say, like, as much shit as I give bands and I give albums that I don't like, still go listen to it for yourself. Which I know I've given it a really shit endorsement, but if you listen to Power Metal and you want it with a bit more balls, not quite all the way to Children of Bodom, but you know, just that little bit extra. It's Power Metal, a little bit of thrash in there, a little bit of melodic death metal in there. A lot of it comes from the vocal because vocalist, what's his name, Taylor Washington, can do a little bit of a growl. I think it's him that handles the growls on it. If not, it's the bassist Andy. Give this a bash, but if you want to accept my word as gospel, which I don't think you should, it's no. It's a no from me. The band is called Paladin, and their debut album Ascension is out now. And I'm gonna leave it alone because I feel like I've already said too much. Before we get to the main event of Hawkeyes, let's talk a little bit about a tiny little EP from somewhere in Britain. The band are called Gold Bloom. They've been a band for about 7 months, and I think they've already hit, I think they said it hit 40,000 plays recently on an EP that came out a couple of months ago, which is fucking ludicrous. The EP is called At Long Last, and like I said, they're from Liverpool, play a lovely thing of pop punk, and again, very, very new. They are, to me, the latest band to try and reclaim the pop punk mantle. I'll throw them up there with Fresh, Narwhals, and maybe even Forever Came Calling as well. They straddle that line between pop rock, that's called pop punk, and actual pop punk. And they tried to move away from the all-time low, the boys like girls, We the Kings, cute is what we aim for level of pop punk bullshittery. And I've spoken about it a bunch of times, so I won't go into detail again now, but the Blink-182 started uber pop punk. It can get in the bin, and bands like this, I think, are moving away from that stereotype that pop punk has now. The EP is a short little thing, 5 songs, just shy of 15 minutes. The opening track, A Damn Shame, is a perfect example of a opening track for a new band. It is a solid statement of intent. It's good party pacing sort of stuff, so you can have it on the background there and have a jolly good time. There's enough edge in the instruments that keep it grounded in punk while still being like super mainstream, super poppy. And I think vocalist Sam Kinley does a fucking great job on the song, and on the EP as general. I think he's got quite a unique voice. I can't compare him massively with anyone. I will try later, but in terms of like a like for like, I really can't think of him having like anyone else having this kind of voice. Having said that, the song afterwards, Collateral Damage and How to Fix It, may split opinions on how he sings the vocal, because whereas the entire rest of the EP, he is a lot of energy, that slight little bit of edge into his voice. Collateral Damage is way more laid back and super calm in comparison. And I didn't mind it personally. I quite enjoyed it. It felt a little bit indie, but just not massively, but just like, you know, a little bit indie. And I'm kind of worried, as much as I didn't mind it, I think it might be quite polarizing for people coming in. But again, similar with the Virginity album, I think it's early experiments, and I think they're doing it on a better scale, like doing it on the EP and then get the album out when they've flushed out a core sound. But it might work for it, might not. I enjoyed it. I can't see many other people having an opinion on it either way, but c'est la vie. I hate the sea and everything in it. First of all, great name for a song. It kind of feels a bit more experimental too. It's got little jumps of speed here and there, and it kind of feels a bit 4-year strongy. In that way where it's like little blasts of chug here and there, and then moves on. And then I feel bad. I've got nothing substantial to say about "Ah My Bad," which is track 4. It's just very standard pop punk, and that's not a. It sounds, because I've not got anything specific to say about it. It sounds like, oh, it's a fucking boring song. Ignore it. It's not. It's just very, very pop punk. It's not bad. It's easy. It's easy to listen to. It's just very, very okay. And the chorus sounds a bit like "Dismantling Summer" by the Wonder Years. That's probably the only specific thing I think about it. It's not. It's one of the few times I can think of where just being core to what your label is and being very generic to that label. It's the only time generic isn't used badly. It's just as soon as you say decent pop punk, this is what you'd get. It's just 7 out of 10. It's all good. Lead single and closing track, Crosshairs, probably the best song on the EP. Again, really, really great chorus, and Sam sounds fucking brilliant. I saw Crosshairs got put on Reddit by the band. They said they had a lot of fun making it. It looks like a lot of fun to do. It looks fucking mad, actually. And I think, probably the best choice for a lead track anyway, to try and get those plays and get that burgeoning audience. It's hard to compare, like, broadly this to anything else because of how disconnected I've come to pop punk. And I tried to compare it, and I thought, imagine early 2000s Sum 41 covered by early 2000s Blink-182, sung by Dan from 4 Year Strong. It doesn't make sense, but that's Goldblum. Alright? It is. The EP is called At Long Last. It's out now. It's on Spotify. It's on iMusic, whatever it's called these days. And they're from Liverpool. Awful Scouse accents. And it's called Goldblum, which I've just realised might be a pun on Jeff Goldblum. And that makes him even better. Cool. Final album of the week then. My throat is beginning to hurt. Fun. And this is... Ow! My leg is also going dead. This is album 4, again, from the Leeds-based, again, alt metal band, Hawkeyes. It is called Advice. Formerly known as Chicken Hawk many moons ago, but still worth mentioning. And Hawkeyes were, I think even still are, actually, an integral part of the UK underground metal scene. Ideas is an absolute masterpiece. Everything is fine. Isn't quite as good, but it's still fucking brilliant. It's hard. I wrote it down and I thought, man, it makes everything is fine sound like shit, but it's because Ideas is just that fucking good. Hopefully you would have seen it on an open mic review a few months back. If not, go and fucking listen to it because it's fucking great. Listen to all Hawkeyes. They're fucking great. And there was a time where I didn't think we'd ever have a Hawkeyes album ever again. After they toured, Everything Is Fine, the band largely went silent and had a bit of a break. And at the time they disappeared, bright, interesting, very, very good UK stars were starting to drop off everywhere you look. Feed the Rhino went quiet after The Sorrow and the Sound. Now they've broken up in the years since. Rise to Remain and The Safety Fire split in 2015. The Defile split up in 2016. Heck and Malefice split up in 2017. The UK scene that had died off, the UK scene that had formed was dying off spectacularly. And it was in these years where it was the first time I understood how the music industry works for alternative music. the big bands that you see on TV and that kind of thing, they will have record labels and companies finance them and get them all the best places and get them all the best spots for adverts or TV in general. Whereas underground independent music, you've got to fight for it. That's why if you've seen recently, Black Peaks have had to cancel their tour. Want to wish Will a speedy recovery. They split their cancelled their tour from that. Black Peaks, Palm Reader, Black Futures, and I remember they had a really fun name. Another band which I'll try and think of as I'm going along. They've all had to drop off as well because the headliner's gone. And that's going to cut into them something fierce. So for bands like that, you have to say, okay, let's go to the merch desk online merch desks, generic, Empiricon, that kind of crap, to support them back because, they won't have the same kind of money to back them and help them go along. What's it? Bitch Falcon, which I thought was a great name for a band. Fucking listen to Bitch Falcon, that's hilarious. So yeah, those sort of bands, because they've now been had to cancel his tour to make way for Will's health, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Definitely look after the people first. If this was like a Yumi at 6 or a Young Guns, they'd be fine because they got companies behind them. But just the independent music and alternative music, and especially in the UK at the time, still even now, just don't have the same sort of thing. And with all that said, I was dead excited when the Hawkeye social medias started teasing something. Little updates happened here and there, profile pictures changed, and then eventually became advice. And after all that excitement, everything was going on, you can then imagine how worried I was the first time I heard Royal Trouble. And it wasn't Ideas 2.0. In fact, it wasn't even Everything Is Fine 2.0. If you are a fan of Hawkeyes and for some reason you haven't gone into Advice yet, don't make the same mistake I did and expect Advice version 2 or Everything Is Fine version 2. Because this is a band that has grown up and a lot of that craziness is gone compared to the previous album. When you think about it, it makes sense because there is a definite shift in between Ideas and Everything Is Fine anyways. Everything Is Fine is a lot more songs in italics as opposed to Ideas. And Advice, even further again, is a little bit more streamlined with those absurdities from yesteryear, a bit more subtle and a bit more nuanced. Using Royal Trouble as the example, there's still a whole heap and bunch of key and signature changes throughout. The transition and chorus riffs are still fairly proggy. Paul Astic, the lead singer, still makes absolutely no sense in his lyrics. I tried to find an example, but they haven't printed them anywhere. I don't think they're in the album case which got either. They're fucking maddening. It makes no sense at all, and I love it. You've got New Greek Fire and Hand in My Heart Cage. And in fact, the bulk of the second half of the album, actually, it's all full of those older-fashioned Hawkeye's musical oddities. With the only exception, I'd say, is probably Win on Win. You got a song like Smokes, which is predominantly a spoken word monologue by Richard O'Brien from Crystal Maze, for fuck's sake. Although it is a lot more rock songs and a lot more, again, streamlined, you've still got the weirdness of Hawkeye just dibble around everywhere. And so you've got that half of the album, while the other half features is just an absolute abundance of, and it does bleed into the second half, the loony half, a little bit as well, but you just got venue-filling choruses everywhere you turn. Perfect Again is crying out for a few thousand people, a couple of pints in to sing along with. Paul sounds incredible on Follow Me, and fucking Never Leave Me is insane. It's an absolute peach of a song. everything Sky Spinners did for ideas, Never Lead Me should be doing for advice. And again, if you have previous knowledge of Hawkeyes and you listened to before for ideas, for even modern bodies, for everything is fine, even going back to Chicken Hawk days, listen to advice will take some getting used to. But it will click and it will be so brilliant when you get Royal Trouble, when you get Never Lead Me, Perfect Again, Follow Me as well. The first half of this album is fucking great. Hand in My Heart Cage as well, State of Opposition. When you start getting into the album more and more and more and more and more, you will find the Hawkeyes you know and love in there. If this is your first time hearing about Hawkeyes and it'll be your first album by them that you listen to, you're in for a raunching good time. It's going to be fantastic. And once you listen to advice, start working your way backwards. Go and listen to Everything Is Fine. Go and listen to Ideas. Go and listen to Modern Bodies. Fuck it. Go and listen to the Chicken Hawk self-titled. No matter what you do, no matter what kind of music you listen to, you need to be listening to Hawkeyes because they're fucking brilliant. And if you're indebted to wherever you're from, your local independent scene or your local alternative scene, finance it, because they won't get to stadium headlining or festival headlining without people doing the grunt work at the beginning. And having Hawkeyes on a festival set would be insane. And I want it to happen now, and I want it to happen forever. But that was Hawkeyes. It was their fourth album. It's called Advice. And that will do it for this week. My throat's getting very, very sore. I'm going to drink coffee and cry. This week you've had Little Old Me chat about Download, Slam Dunk, and Bloodstock. I have had various opinions. Album reviews from this week were Dinosaur Pile-Up, Aphyxion, Virginity, Paladin, Gold Bloom, and the Mighty Mighty Hawkeyes. Next week, I am hoping to do Black Futures, the new Korn album, Microwave, which is a big grunge band that everyone's really getting into, and Tiny Moving Parts, who I adore a lot, and almost missed the fact they had a new album coming out, because that was a dafty. But that's all coming up next week. Thank you very much for listening. As ever, find me on social medias. I'm usually there all the time. I get notifications, basically. I've had radio silence for the past few weeks, and I apologise for that, but I'm still around. Come say hi, tell me I'm shit, something. Let me know, dear listener, that it's not just you out there. And I will see you maybe next week, probably, definitely. Bye-bye.